Bonjour and welcome to Art Song Notes. Today we're going to talk about my favorite song in French to give a beginning voice student who has never sung any of the French art song literature before. And that is Gabriel Fauré's Chanson d'amour with poetry by Armand Sylvestre. So there's a few reasons why I love this piece for beginning students. And that is, first of all, the vocal range barely goes over an octave. The vocal line moves in primarily stepwise motion, and the poetry itself is very straightforward and easy to understand. And there's also a lot of text repetition in this song. So in today's video, I will take you through the pronunciation of the French words, and then I will provide you with an English translation. We'll also talk about the meaning of the text, and then we'll talk about the compositional structure of Chanson d'amour, and then I will leave you with some vocal technique tips that will help aid you in your study of this wonderful little French chanson. So let's get started with the pronunciation. The pronunciation of the French text of Chanson d'amour is as follows. J'aime tes yeux, j'aime ton front. Oh ma rebelle, oh ma farouche. J'aime tes yeux, j'aime ta bouche. Où mes baisers s'épuiseront. J'aime ta voix, j'aime l'étrange grâce de tout ce que tu dis. Ô ma rebelle, ô mon cher ange, mon enfer, et mon paradis. J'aime tes yeux, j'aime ton front. Ô ma rebelle, ô ma farouche. J'aime tes yeux, j'aime ta bouche. Où mes baisers s'épuiseront. J'aime tout ce qui te fait belle, de tes pieds jusqu'à tes cheveux, ô toi vers qui monte mes vœux, ô ma farouche, ô ma rebelle. J'aime tes yeux, j'aime ton front. Ô ma rebelle, ô ma farouche. J'aime tes yeux, j'aime ta bouche. Où mes baisers s'épuiseront. So the English translation I am taking from this fantastic book called A French Song Companion by Graham Chanson and Richard Stokes. And if you love French chanson like I do, then you have got to add this to your music library. And the translation of Chanson d'amour, or love song, is as follows. I love your eyes. I love your brow. Oh, my rebel, oh, my wild one. I love your eyes. I love your mouth, where my kisses shall dissolve. I love your voice. I love the strange charm of all you say. Oh, my rebel. Oh, my dear angel, my inferno and my paradise. I love your eyes. I love your brow. Oh, my rebel. Oh, my wild one. I love your eyes. I love your mouth, where my kisses shall dissolve. I love all that makes you beautiful, from your feet to your hair. Oh, you, the object of all my vows. Oh, my wild one. Oh, my rebel. I love your eyes. I love your brow. Oh, my rebel. Oh, my wild one. I love your eyes and I love your mouth, where my kisses shall dissolve. So as I said at the beginning of this video, this text, this poetry is pretty straightforward in its meaning. If I was going to sum up the meaning of this poem in one sentence, it would be, I love everything about you, actually said with that much excitement and enthusiasm. So I think a reason why so many singers can connect to this poetry is because so many of us have had that feeling of infatuation, that beginning of a relationship, that feeling of passion and feeling completely enamored with somebody. And you can bring those memories, those ideas, those thoughts and feelings and emotion to your singing of Chanson d'amour. So now let's take a look at the compositional structure of this beautiful French chanson. The compositional form of Chanson d'amour is the following: A, B, A, C, A prime. So we start off with the chorus, and then we have the first verse, which is the B section. The chorus then returns in the A section, and then we have another verse, which is musically different than the B section, so we call it C. And then the chorus returns at the end of the song with just a little bit of a difference at the very end, which is why that is considered A prime. The time signature of Chanson d'amour is common time or 4/4 time, and the tempo marking is allegro moderato, meaning moderately fast. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I love assigning this piece to beginning students because the vocal line moves primarily in stepwise fashion. This is really helpful when teaching students how to sing in a legato way. The piano accompaniment is just full of beautiful arpeggios, and it gives a nice harmonic foundation to the melody of the vocal line. However, I will say the singer has to be somewhat independent because you won't hear vocal doubling in the piano accompaniment. So the singer really needs to know their vocal line very well. And then lastly, when it comes to the rhythm in the vocal line is quite simple and straightforward. It's full of just half notes, quarter notes, and eighth notes, which is again a great reason why this is a fabulous piece to give beginning singers. Now let's go on to some vocal technique tips. So vocal technique tip number 1 has to do with the tempo at which you practice this piece. Now I know the tempo marking is allegro moderato, and that's what you will eventually sing it at. But when you're first learning this piece, I really recommend starting at a slow tempo. That will give you plenty of time to really study the correct and precise vowel formations, and will also help you with a particular phrase that is in the B section of the song, and that is this phrase: J'aime ta voix, j'aime l'étrange grâce de tout ce que tu dis. You can hear how quickly those eighth notes go at an allegro moderato tempo. So start practicing at a slower tempo. Now, vocal technique tip number 2 has to do with learning how to and practicing how to sing a legato line. So singing in French, it is very important to always be singing in a legato fashion because the language itself is very legato. So in order to practice this, I highly recommend practicing the vocal melodic line on lip trills, tongue trills, buzzy Z's, or buzzy V's. Now, my third vocal technique tip has to do with the neutral vowel sound. Make sure that when you sing that neutral vowel sound, you are slightly rounding your lips, or doing what I tell my students to do, and that is give it a little pout. So some examples of what I'm talking about are the words farouche, or bouche, or grâce. You can see how my lips are very slightly rounded. They're not tight, they're just slightly rounded. American English singers will sometimes tend to be a little lazy in their rounding, and so that neutral sound starts to become an sound. So it will start to sound like farouche, or grâce, or bouche. So just make sure that you are giving those neutral vowels just a little bit of a pout. All right, my fourth vocal technique tip has to do with breath intake, and that is be very mindful about every breath that you take in that is a deep and low and energized breath. When we're singing a song that is at a faster tempo and is just full of life and excitement, it's very easy for the breath intakes to start to creep up, and we start to take these higher, quicker breaths. So just be mindful that every breath still needs to be deep and low, as well as energized and quick. And then my last vocal technique tip has to do with the last two phrases of the piece, and it has to do with the tuning of those last two phrases. They are almost identical with the exception of one pitch. So the second to last phrase, you will notice there is a lowered third in the descending line. So it sounds like this. And then the last phrase, that lowered third has now been corrected to be right in the key with So just make sure that you are very correct in the differentiation between the lowered third and the natural third. Thank you so much for joining me today as we talked about Chanson d'amour. I hope that you found this video helpful, and if you did, then I encourage you to check out some of the other videos here on this channel, and of course subscribe to this channel. Until next time, happy singing!